Welcome to Mindful Drawing. I'm Robert, and I'll be your guide on this meditative practice that enters a space of mindfulness through the act of drawing. This week we'll be inspired by a little bit of music, a little bit of rhythm, a little bit of cycling the breath, cycling a shape, and then finding some space between the wiggly bits and the straight lines. I like to, often on flights, listen to lectures of Alan Watts talking about Taoism, Buddhism, or just the state of mind and philosophy as a dialogue between things. And one of his that caught my attention this weekend traveling was that relationship between the regular, the straight line, the orderly, and the organic, wiggly, kind of shapeless, formless forming that exists on a spectrum or conversation that we can have with ourselves and with others about how we see things in the world. So this exercise, we'll meditate on that just by using our hand to draw straight, to draw regular, to also find anomaly, wiggle, new shapes and emergence in that rhythm. As always, we'll be guided by our breath, find stability and presence, and then work into some open creative territory. I'm going to start with a pen just to make some nice, dark, clean lines on the paper, and then probably move into a little bit of pencil, some shading, some softer movement of the hand, some softer guidance of the eye. Whatever you'd like to draw with, go ahead and gather your supplies, establish your space, and let's draw together. I have a collection of Alan Watts lectures that I like to listen to on planes. I don't know, I find them relaxing on the plane, and one where he was discussing the contrasts between straight lines and wiggly bits, and thought we could play in that space, finding a little bit of connection between those aligned, regular things and more irregular, wobbly things, and see where that goes, and maybe find even in that a little bit of rhythm, a little bit of connection or visual music on the page. So as a warm-up to get started, we kind of want to find where our hands, these loose and flexible control objects, this precise, perhaps made pen or less precise, thick pencil type thing can interface with the nice flat sheet of paper. And begin by establishing some shapes that may have a little bit of wiggle and a little bit of straight line to them, kind of a lozenge or gummy worm oblong shapes. We'll work with variations of these, and for now, not worrying too much about the connection between them, but just drawing these kind of long stick-like shapes in a few different ways, feeling it out, trying some that have more lengths of straightness, and some that may have more allowance to wobble, various lengths and thicknesses, so just moving that hand around a territory. These different ways of constructing kind of thickened line will become our language, medium in the larger exercise. Now just feeling out how we draw, maybe trying a few different instruments, pen, pencil, whatever you have handy. Testing a few sizes, what happens when you try to make them very narrow and next to each other, or very wide, very quick, or very slow, will all become part of our expression on the page in the larger exercise. Right now, I notice all mine are nice and vertically lined up. You can work in that, perhaps even play with what happens with some crossing, some subtle movement out of alignment. All that can be something that you explore in the exercise, even very small ones approaching dot size or circle size, less long, more even. And we'll see where that takes us. Hopefully the hand is now moving well around through space, the pen feeling comfortable in the hand. We can go ahead and set that to the side in preparation on a fresh sheet, new page, something opened and ready to work into. And just take a couple of breaths to begin our space, begin presence with that open page, the hand warmed up, moving a little bit. Take that warmth and move it through the arms into the shoulders, just with a little roll up, back, down and around, up, forward, back and around. A couple one way, a couple the other. Maybe move a little asymmetrically, get a little bit of wiggle into that shoulder girdle, the upper spine, and then see if you can move that just down, whether you're sitting or standing, just a little side to side, maybe a little twist, everything taking from that warm up. And then a good deep breath just to fill out some space and let it out when you're ready. Becoming present here. Picking up your pen or pencil if you don't already have it. And we'll just start working perhaps from one side to the other. I'm going to begin with a larger, a little bit wider, a little bit more room to wobble kind of shape. And from there, we'll begin to enter and establish some rhythm on the page. So across or out from wherever you begin, do a roughly evenly spaced series, each one finding that initial connection to the breath by breathing in as you start and observing the exhalation. As you draw a roughly similar sized and placed shape, similar height, similar spacing, similar breath. Finding that beginning and return with each cycle. Allowing for yourself more or less wobble, more or less slight variation in each moment, but visually trying to maintain some degree of evenness, some amount of regulation between the moments of variation. As you reach towards the side of the page, in case it's smaller or larger, what we'll do is continue to pass, maybe back and forth or one way, continuously through this rhythm and establish sub-layers, picking a different condition, maybe a longer, skinnier one, just a little separated from the original, and continue to follow that rhythm so that as I guide, you can return to the beginning and carry through multiple times, each one using that space in between the rhythm and the alignment of things to perhaps establish just a new note in that flow. And what I'll do is take one note all the way through before cycling back, but just the beginning there for all of us to know. And each one breathing in to begin the drawing, and out to move the pen or pencil. And with that cycling of the breath, you can begin to establish some awareness in which direction you draw, setting it before and following it with the exhalation. Each piece a variation on the same tone, close to the same place as before, to begin to establish some regularity in these early passes, bringing that from the cycles of breath in, the placement of the pen or pencil, and the exhalation of the travel. Completing the entire loop of the drawing of the shape within the exhalation window. So finding the speed for your hand and for your movement that allows you to bring connection or synchronicity between those two, the in-breath and the action of exhalation with the action of drawing. And in each pass, for the first few here, really maintaining that evenness, the play of difference only emerging within each note, the guidance of regularity in the space on the page. The straight, connected bits and the local wiggly bits. Each an external expression of the connection between our mind, our visual observance of the linkages across the page, our breath, and the action taken by our hand and the pen or pencil. You may start to explore different speeds of the exhalation as that awareness and attention to the breath expands, getting to know how you can move and manage the tempo with that space of awareness and presence you are creating. Playing between wide and narrow, close or spaced far, clockwise or counterclockwise, long or short. You're developing repetition of the notes in your cycling of breath, moving at a pace that feels comfortable and relaxing to yourself. A constant in and out, or with breaks in between, whatever you feel is right for you right now. As you start to feel more comfortable with the movement, seeing where you can find new spaces between, perhaps they become tighter and more precise, but still guided by that inhalation, placement, and exhalation. Or maybe you have a lot of room on either side of the page and you can continue to expand openly, still maintaining some regularity of visual rhythm. Each pass allowing for flexibility in our breathing rhythm. And you can take some far towards the edges of the page. Make maybe one or two more cycles before entering into the space emerging from the repetition, finding a space of play, introducing difference to the whole from the system of shape and space that we've provided. I think for the next few passes, start to add some play, extending existing connections, perhaps breaking continuous cycles, bringing new rhythms of oscillation, of change within the territory. Having some time just to continue with a similar technique, but find our own space there in the regularity, our own room to introduce a little bit of wiggle. To let the breath sink into the background, to perhaps loosen the cycles, move around freely, start to add little quirks, little moments unique to their timing. Take a few minutes to just draw into what you see outside of shapes, extensions, new layerings, or even into the space of the shapes. We'll come back to after a few minutes of quiet drawing. Come back together in the exercise, some time exploring, perhaps enhancing or undermining the rhythms there, continuing to find our own space within it. We can do as another phase to that is begin calling out places within the drawing, changing mediums, perhaps going from pen to pencil, or just re-highlighting certain moments, going over again, retracing the breath, and the motion. Coming back around to the beginning, finding new clarity in a return to where we started, that shape traveling around space, our mind entering into the shape, specific moments through the breath. Even just a second pass of the pen or pencil, a slight darkening of the line, a slight pulling out of one moment. But still present in that rhythm of the breath. Doesn't have to be deep. Could be just a normal cycling, aligned with the speed your hand may want to move at. And if you have some longer ones or smaller ones that you can work within, perhaps a bit of a filling of some space, looking to either enhance or further wiggle the rhythm, embracing some of the regularity or letting go into following the eyes fancy. I think I'll do that by filling a few bars within each cycle across the page, but perhaps playing with which bar, which dot, which shape takes visual expression within the crowd. And this new way of drawing, perhaps just providing a little fill, a little shade, pen or pencil can work, a little more continuous movement of the hand, shorter, more repetitive strokes, easing us from that cycle of the breath back into a space of action on the page, letting things come to rest, not needing to be so heavily minded, but the breath returning to the background. The eyes getting a chance to wander and guide. And taking the last couple of minutes here to just draw with a little freeness. Move between, fill some, wrap some, connect some, anything that begins to pull you into that space you made in the drawing. Have it emerge from regularity into a hybrid of local pattern, global structure, and occasional nuance, deviation, opportunity. And as we come towards the end, we can begin to let go of that pen or pencil, release any finishing into a final mark. Bring the hands to rest. Let them hover a bit in space over the drawing. Roll them back and forth. Extend them in and out. Just wiggle those fingers around and then bring them into shape of the hand. Let them loosen. Take a nice deep breath, a good measure at the end to fill out, up, down, forward, back, left, right. Hold it for a moment and then just release. Well, maybe you find a little bit of sound, a little bit of rhythm there on the paper. Maybe something sparks your interest and your attention to go deeper in, find connection across a coded language, something new that you're experimenting with and exploring. Or perhaps we just play that tune from our breath, from our drawing and action, and find the moment expressed there on the page, the time of being present, fully captured in that act of mindful drawing. If you enjoyed the exercise, you can catch new ones here, usually every Wednesday morning. Please give it a thumbs up below, share with your friends, leave me a comment on what you found in the exercise or ideas you might have about prompts for mindfully drawing into your day. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day or evening. Draw well. Thank you.